Rival Gang and anybody from the YouTube space seeing this video. So I'm sure you clicked on it because you wondered yourself, hey, what would Rhino be like if he joined Marvel Rival? So this is the third part of my What If series. So let's go ahead and hop right on into it. So we got Rhino. Rhino, such an unstoppable force for sure. So let's start here. So I have him at a 3-star. Because I don't think Rhino should be too complicated, to be honest. I mean, I can't really see him being too much of a technical character. When I thought about this, was like, when I think of Rhino and I see like him in movies and the shows and stuff, he's pretty much running through walls all the time, and it's almost to the effect where like he's just bouncing through walls, just causing chaos. So I was like, what if we gave him like a pinball type of vibe, right, when you're playing him? And that's going to make sense in a minute. I know y'all see these stats and y'all like, what the heck is going on? Why does he have 500 armor? Y'all will see. So let's get into it. So base health, I do have him at 750. I mean, with Devil Dino, I'm like, why not, right? Why not? He does 75 damage per second. He has 500 armor, which again, we're going to go over that. And then his movement speed is 6.5 meters per second. So going into his passive, we have momentum, right? Every collision with an enemy or wall through an ability or movement generates 1 momentum stack, a maximum of 5. Each stats grants 8% move speed and 10% damage on the next hit. Stats decay 1 at a time every 3 seconds while standing still. Keep moving, keep hitting. And that is the ultimate thing with Rhino, right? You want to keep that momentum going, and that's going to play into his kit a little later from what you guys will see. And yeah, like I said, you just want him to be a machine that's constantly moving, right? Hold down the team, keep moving, keep creating chaos. I don't know if you would consider him necessarily dive, potentially. I mean, I can see him being dive and kind of brawl at the same time, a mixture of the two, right? Hybrid, whatever you guys want to call it, with a passive like this. Again, y'all are going to see soon why I kind of went with this. So we have the left mouse button click, which is horn strike. I don't know why I said button click. But anyway, we have short range horn jab dealing 75 damage per second, counts as collision, generates 1 momentum per hit at 3+ momentum stats. Horn strike knocks the enemy back 3 meters. Knockback range scales with current momentum. So again, just his basic ability. This is what you want to be doing at all times. Just putting some CC down, putting enemies back, whether it's tank, DPS, heck, even healers sometimes, right? You're basically staying on them. And it's also, like I said, pushing, as I like to say, is pushing the enemy back, especially when you're on defense, right? Or even on offense. I mean, I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do at that time and who you need to, control. I think that's a great ability for it to be like his main way of attacking. Like I said, doing what he needs to do as a tank. So then we have his right mouse button. Harden the suit for 2 seconds. All incoming projectiles are fully reflected back at their source for 80% of their original damage. Melee against Rhino during Ironhide are absorbed, and each absorbed melee hit generates 1 momentum stack. The reflected damage bypasses shields, 13-second cooldown. So this can be very anti-melee, anti-dive type of hero, right? So he kind of plays both sides. If they're doing range, a lot of that damage is going to get sent back to the enemy. If it's melee, all they're doing is helping him build up that momentum, and ultimately that plays into his strengths as to his passive, right? I really think the projectile reflect is going to be a big thing, because I mean 80% of that damage, I mean, imagine how many people are going to self-eliminate themselves, right? From the Punishers to the Star-Lords, characters like that. I mean, heck, I don't know how that would necessarily work with like Hela or what's his name, Hawkeye as an example, or Namor, but for characters that shoot a lot of bullets at one time, I think that this would be a great counter tank for heroes like that. All right, and then we have Rhino Charge, which is his shift, right? Steerable charge that with gradual turning, hitting an enemy deals 100 damage and launches them. Hitting a wall ricochets Dino in the reflected direction instantly. Each collision adds 1 momentum and 12% speed for 1.5 seconds. Chains up to 3 wall bounces before ending. Right, so this is just his ultimate movement ability. This is still just to cause chaos, build up those momentum stats, and do what you need to do as Rhino to ultimately cause chaos for the enemy team. And because he's building up that momentum and he's bouncing around, off of players, off of, like I said, walls, anything, like I said, that counts as collision, I mean, I think this is pretty great. This is going to cause a lot of damage just based off his kit, right? And then we have his E, redirect. During Rhino Charge or Stampede only, instantly pivot in any chosen direction without losing speed counts as a wall bounce. Generate 1 momentum and a brief invincibility frame. No independent cooldown, free to use while charging. So again, this is something that can only be used during Rhino Charge and Stampede, which I think is really great. Like I said, it's free to use for the most part. Now, you know, in reality, would this probably need a cooldown? Maybe like 1-2 seconds or something like that, so it's just not being abused. But with that being said, it does play into that Rhino Charge. Here we have the ground slam, leap into the air and crash down at a targeted location, dealing 90 damage in a 6-meter radius and creating a shockwave that knocks enemies back 4 meters. The slam generates 2 momentum stats instantly and resets Rhino Charge's wall bounce counter, allowing him to start a fresh charge from the landing point. So again, it goes back into him being a pinball. This ultimately just allows him to be a menace, right? You have to control him, you have to slow him down if possible, because he's not CC immune or anything, but it just allows him to cause a lot of discourse within the enemy, and that's why his stats are so high, because you want to make him somewhat hard to kill, right? Now, keep in mind, you know, when you build up that momentum, you're getting that damage boost, right? You're getting a 50% damage boost, which is going to be pretty insane once you build it up, right? So you need things that can stun him, slow him down, ultimately keep those momentum stacks as low as possible. So for example, when you go into Rhino Charge and redirect, that is where a lot of this is coming into play. That 10% damage is what you are trying to build ultimately at the end of the day. Of course, the movement speed is the biggest, well, not the biggest bonus, but one of the bigger bonuses that's going to help him achieve this. But oh my God, man, he's going to be a problem. So going into the ultimate, Stampede, which is his Q, right? Rhino enters full Stampede for 9 seconds. Fully steerable with gradual tuning. Ironhide is permanently active for the duration. All projectiles reflected, all melee hits generate momentum. Every enemy trampled takes 85 damage and restores 50 armor HP, which that of course that's going to Rhino, just to be clear, right? Every wall or enemy collision adds an uncapped 18% speed stack. Hitting 3 consecutive enemies without touching a wall triggers a shockwave, knocking all nearby enemies back 6 meters. Redirect is free and unlimited CC immune throughout. So he does get the CC immune when he's in his ultimate, which is to be expected, guys. Come on, let's be real. But as far as his kit, man, he's just really just running through, creating chaos, just like we know him to do in the comics and the shows, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, I really think that this kit would work with him. Obviously, there would be some tuning here. I'm sure that there would be some switch up if this was ever added to the game. But just the thought of him being like a destructive pinball tank, I think it's pretty crazy. And I think that would work really well for him, for what we know about Rhino. So as always, you know, y'all tell me what y'all think. You know, tell me what parts you like the most. Tell me what parts you would take out or change. You know, again, this is all for fun, just so we can just talk about it, because we all know from just the Gambit joining the game, for example, everybody thought Gambit was going to be a DPS at a certain point, but here he is a strategist. Now, this is Rhino. I can't see him being anything else but a Vanguard. I really can't. If they did want to go a crazy route and do what's the word, duelist, I guess strategist, but y'all really like went into a whole nother box of thoughts if y'all make this man a strategist. But with that being said, that's Rhino. So again, y'all let me know, leave something in the comments, like, subscribe. You know, I really enjoy making these videos for y'all. It's just a fun series for us to just, you know, have something to talk about, you know, for the rival community. But with that being said, I appreciate all the love and support, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.